Hey friends, welcome back to English Exchange Podcast. I am Jisan. Today's episode for all beginners to advanced learners. Have you ever tried learning a new language and felt nervous about speaking it in front of others? In this story, you will follow from my very first English class to finding the courage to speak with confidence. What about me? Do you remember my first time speaking in a new language? I live in a small town near the river. It is a quiet place where people know each other and greet each other on the street. Life here is simple, but for me, something felt missing. I always wanted to learn English, but I never had the chance. I thought English was only for people in big cities or for those who could travel to other countries. One morning, everything changed. It was a sunny day, and I was sitting on the wooden bench outside my house, sipping tea. The smell of fresh bread came from the bakery down the road. Children were laughing and running, their school bags bouncing on their backs. Suddenly, I saw a small poster on the wall near the market. I stopped walking. My heart started to beat a little faster. A free class? For everyone? I walked closer and read the details. The teacher's name was written at the bottom. Miss Sarah. It said she was from England and had come to our town to teach English to anyone who wanted to learn. At first I felt nervous. What if my English was too bad? What if I could not understand her? But then I remembered something my grandmother always said. If you wait too long to start, you will never start at all. That night I couldn't sleep well. I kept imagining myself speaking English fluently, talking to people from other countries, maybe even traveling one day. I decided I would go to the class no matter how scared I felt. The next Saturday morning, I put on my clean white shirt, combed my hair, and walked to the community center. It was a small building with yellow walls and big windows. My hands were a little sweaty. I could hear voices inside. I opened the door slowly. The room was filled with people of all ages. Children, teenagers, and even some older men and women. They were all smiling and chatting. At the front stood a tall woman with short blonde hair and kind eyes. She smiled when she saw me and said, "Hello, welcome." I smiled back shyly and took a seat near the window. As I sat down, I felt something new inside me, a mix of excitement and fear. I knew this was the start of something important in my life. I didn't know it yet, but this English class was going to change everything for me. I sat near the window, my heart still beating fast. The sunlight came through the glass, making the room warm and bright. Miss Sarah stood at the front with a big smile. She held a whiteboard marker in her hand and wrote two simple words, "Hello" and "Good morning." She turned to us and said slowly, "Hello." Everyone in the room said together, "Hello." I joined in, my voice a little quiet at first. Then she said, "Good morning." We all repeated, "Good morning." I felt surprised. This was not too hard. I could understand her words, and the way she spoke was clear. She used her hands to show meaning, and she always smiled, which made me feel more comfortable. After the greetings, she walked around the room and asked each person, "What is your name?" When it was my turn, she stopped in front of me and asked, "What is your name?" I took a deep breath and answered, "My name is Jisan." She said warmly, "Nice to meet you, Jisan." I smiled and replied, "Nice to meet you too." It was a simple conversation, but inside I felt proud. I was speaking English, not perfectly, but clearly enough for her to understand. During the lesson, we learned how to say our names, ask where someone is from, and say goodbye. Miss Sarah also taught us how to introduce ourselves in a full sentence. My name is Dash and I am from Dash. She made us work in pairs, so I turned to the man sitting next to me. His name was Rahim. He was about my age with a kind face. We practiced together. My name is Jisan and I am from River Town. Rahim said, My name is Rahim and I am from River Town too. We both laughed a little when we made small mistakes, but Miss Sarah said, Mistakes are good, they mean you are learning. At the end of the class, Miss Sarah gave us a small homework task. Practice introducing yourself to at least 3 people before next Saturday. When I left the community center, the air outside felt fresh and the river sparkled in the afternoon light. I felt a small but strong change inside me, a sense of possibility. Walking home, I kept repeating in my head, My name is Jisan and I am from River Town. I didn't know where this journey would take me, but I knew one thing for sure. I had started and I wasn't going to stop. The next morning, I woke up early. Sunlight was already filling my small room and I could hear the sound of birds outside my window. I remembered Miss Sarah's homework. Introduce yourself to 3 people before next Saturday. It sounded simple in class, but now that I was thinking about doing it in real life, I felt nervous again. Speaking English in front of Miss Sarah and my classmates felt safe. Speaking to strangers in the market or on the street, that was different. I decided to start with someone I knew a little. The shopkeeper near my house, Mr. Karim. He was an older man with a kind smile. When I entered his small grocery shop, the smell of fresh vegetables filled the air. Good morning, Mr. Karim, I said in Bengali. He smiled. Good morning, Jisan. What can I get for you today? I took a deep breath. This was my chance. I switched to English. My name is Jisan. I am from River Town. He looked at me for a moment, surprised, and then laughed warmly. Ah, English? Very good, he said in broken English. I laughed too. Thank you. That was one person. 2 more to go. Later that day, I walked to the riverside where fishermen were fixing their nets. One of them was a man I had seen many times before but never spoken to. I greeted him with hello. He looked up and nodded. I continued, My name is Jisan. I am from River Town. He repeated my words slowly as if trying to remember them and then replied, I am Karim from River Town. We both laughed. It was not perfect, but it was communication. The last person I needed to introduce myself to was the most difficult, a stranger I had never met. The next day, I went to the market again, walking past stalls of colorful fruits and baskets of spices. Finally, I saw a young man about my age buying bananas. I walked up to him and said, Hello. He looked a little surprised but smiled. Hello. I continued. My name is Jisan. I am from River Town. He replied, My name is Anik. I am from Green Village. His English was clear and I felt a rush of excitement. We spoke for a few minutes mixing English and Bengali. He told me he had learned English from YouTube videos. When I walked home that evening, I felt proud. I had done it. 3 people, each conversation different, but each one giving me more courage. That Saturday, when I returned to class, I was ready to tell Miss Sarah about my homework. But I didn't know that the next lesson would bring an even bigger challenge, speaking in front of everyone. When I entered the community center that Saturday, I felt more confident than the week before. I had completed my homework and I was excited to tell Miss Sarah about it. The room was already full of students and the warm smell of tea came from a table in the corner. Miss Sarah greeted us with her usual bright smile. She said, "Good morning, everyone." We replied, "Good morning, Miss Sarah." She smiled and said, "Who would like to go first?" A few hands went up. I waited, hoping my turn would come later. One by one, people stood up, introduced themselves, and shared something they liked: reading, gardening, singing. The